Welcome to another episode of the EPL Debate Show. I'm Sully, and I will do the show this week. My partner is under the weather. Just a rundown for this week, I'll talk about the transfer recap for the transfer market that just closed on September the 1st. And of course, the weekly game week predictions. I'll break down the big clash between the old rivals United and Liverpool. Probably the best English rivalry that we still have in modern football today. And then, of course, we do have our weekly fantasy tips as well. So hopefully I do a little bit better this week as well. So keep up and stay tuned. All right, so let's get into the transfer market then. With Arsenal, we did see the arrival of Petr Cech. The fans, as expected, were clamoring for a big-name striker. And it's definitely understandable because if you look at Arsenal right now, Giroud is about the only go-to guy that they have up front. I mean, they do have Walcott coming in occasionally up top, but for you to compete for the Premier League and advance in the Champions League, you need a big striker, a Benzema, Ibrahimovic, a Cavani, somebody that can go out there, get you 20 or 25 goals a season. So I think, apart from the arrival of Petr Cech, it's been another disappointing season for Arsenal fans. Any other season, I probably would have given Arsenal a B or a B plus here. But I think this season was a big season for them. I thought they had the opportunity to close the gap between City and Chelsea. But they did that with Petr Cech, but they needed a little bit more. So with only the arrival of Petr Cech here for Arsenal, I am going to go for a C plus with their transfer dealings. So hopefully in the January window, they do a little bit of a better business in that window. So we move on to Chelsea. Chelsea, of course, we know they were the champions last year. Champions League-wise, they did do well as well, apart from the horrific game they had at home to PSG. So they did not need too many new faces. They just need to stay injury-free, which we just heard their goalie, probably one of the top 3 goalies in the world right now, Courtois, he's going to be out for a long time with a knee surgery. So that's a big loss for them. But as far as their transfers, the main names that we saw brought in, we had Falcao from Monaco, even though he did play at United last season. Disappointing season for him personally. I'm sure he would have wanted more than the 4 goals that he got United. We did have Begovic coming from Stoke as well. Pretty solid goalkeeper there. I'd say a grade B goalkeeper. It's just right below the best that we have in the league. So Baba Rahman also came in. And then the big one was Pedro from Barcelona. They stole him right under the noses of United. So with Chelsea there, the only problem that I think they did not address this window would be a backup for Matic. I know they have the Nigerian Obi Mikel on the bench, but he doesn't seem to have the trust of the coach anymore. Not trust as far as what he can do, but trust as far as what he can provide to the team when they need it most. Mikel doesn't look like a player that Mourinho would trust if a Matic is out long term and he needs that quality CDM to just stay in front of the defense and shield them from danger. So I think that's about the only problem they did not address this summer. They definitely addressed the problem that I thought they had at right back with Baba Rahman coming in. He's definitely a good player and one to watch out for. So Chelsea, I'm going for a B minus grade there. With Courtois now out injured, it's definitely time for them to and time for Begovic to step up and be another key player for them in the season. So B minus there. Now Manchester City. Manchester City, I am going for A plus. Not only because of the names that they brought into the team this summer, but also the way that they went about the transfer window. We know that their owner has the money and they did not mess around. They paid big bucks for the players that they wanted. So I think they did really well. They brought in Sterling from Liverpool, a lot of money, 49 million. Fabian Delph, they brought him from Villa. We saw Otamendi as well. that was linked with United. And then the big one here would be De Bruyne from Wolfsburg. I think one of the problems that they had last season as well was whenever David Silva had a bad game and he couldn't provide that pinpoint pass to break down any defense, they were not able to score the goals that they needed. And then defensively as well, they lacked a little bit of solidity in defense. So I think with De Bruyne, with the number of goals and assists that he had last year, I think about 20 assists in the German league, is definitely a big improvement in the squad. So I'm going for A+ for C. So see how that goes. And then our next team would be Manchester United. Manchester United here, the window started pretty good for them, and then they just seemed to not know what they wanted to go as far as who they wanted to sign anymore. They were linked with Pedro, linked with Ramos, linked with Otamendi, linked with pretty much about any player in the market, as they typically are because of the big name that they are. But they only managed to sign what's his name, Marshall from Monaco, after the early good signs that they had in the season. We saw them bring in Schweinsteiger, Schneiderlin, Darmian, really good player. Sergio Romero, Memphis Depay, another good player, even though he still needs to prove himself in the Premier League. And then, like I just mentioned, they brought in Marshall from Monaco. Big money, so I think they're paying for potential there. He's labeled the next Thierry Henry, a big name and big shoes to fill. But we'll definitely see how that pans out for them. So, and then also this morning, we just learned that De Gea just signed a new 4-year contract, even though I'm not sure that's exactly how that was supposed to play out because of the fiasco that we had on transfer deadline day. But all in all, regardless of how they were able to get the 4-year deal to him, it's still a really, really good sign that they were able to keep the best, I'd say probably the best goalie in the Premier League at the present time because of the number of points that he was able to get United last year. So I will label him the best goalie in the Premier League, arguably, but because there's the discussion there with the Chelsea guy as well. So new 4-year deal. The only thing that means is next summer they will be able to get a world record fee from Real Madrid for them to capture De Gea, because I don't think he's going to be a player that, especially because he's Spanish, I don't think he's going to be staying there for 4 or 5 more years. So all in all, good business by United. The only other thing that I think they failed to address was defensively. Fans were clamoring, as with Arsenal, for a world-class defender, even though I think Chris Smalling has stepped up a little bit, so he might be that world record defender that everybody was hoping United would go out and pay big money to sign. But he's definitely stepped up his game. Defensively, they've looked solid, but offensively, that is the main problem at the moment. They should have addressed that by signing a big striker, a world-class striker, but not too many options out there. And if Wayne Rooney can step up his game and his movements up front a little bit, they might be able to get the best out of him, at least 20 goals a season. So he's already banged in 3 in the Champions League, so 17 to go. So all in all, I'm giving United a B+. So at the present, they're right below City as far as transfer dealings go. So pretty good transfer window for them. They do need to address the striking department in January. And then we have Liverpool as well. Liverpool also, like City, they went out early, pretty much pointed out where they needed to strengthen, and they went out and paid the money they needed to pay to get who they wanted to get. So they brought in Milner from City. Danny Ings, he had a terrific season last year with Burnley, even though they did get relegated, but he scored the goals that he needed to score to pretty much facilitate his big money move to Liverpool. And then they brought in the Brazilian Firmino, Klein from Southampton, and the big one right there is Benteke because of the loss of Luis Suarez, which we saw affect them a great deal last season. So Benteke is it's a steal for them. So with that, I'm going for, and then 49 million from City for Sterling. So pretty good window for Liverpool as well. So I'm going for A minus. So so far we have Liverpool as the second best in the transfer window this summer. So City with the A plus, Liverpool with the A minus, Manchester United with the B plus, Chelsea with the B minus, and then Arsenal with the C plus. So, but we've also seen teams like Stoke go out there by Ibrahim Afellay. They also bought themselves Xherdan Shaqiri. So it's been a good transfer window in the Premier League. Big players have come in, so it's definitely shown that the Premier League is a spectacle that the world wants to see and every player wants to play in. So should be another interesting season ahead, and we'll see if any more new faces come into the league in January. So we'll go on to the next segment, but that's pretty much my recap for the transfer window, and I hope you guys had fun with that segment. So we'll go on to our match week predictions. Alright, so game week predictions for game week 5. We're kicking things off at Goodison Park with Everton hosting Chelsea. I'm going for a 2-1 Chelsea away win here, not because I think Chelsea is presently the better team, but I think they're going to be the more desperate team. They're already chasing City behind now, trailing them by 8 points, so they need to change something, and I think after the international break, they probably have been able to freshen things up a little bit, and they need to get their season going right about now before it gets too bad. So I think they're going to be desperate here, and they'll do all it takes to win. So 2-1 Chelsea win there. Arsenal at Stoke. Barcelona with the injured Afellay and Charlie Adam. I think they will go into this game trying to stay compact, trying to close Arsenal down and try to hit them on the counter. But with Afellay being out, I don't think they're going to have enough to be able to break Arsenal down offensively on the break. So Arsenal should have enough. The big Chilean in Sanchez, he should get his fitness should be a little bit better this game. So I think Arsenal would come at them in waves, and they'll try to prove that they do not need the striker that their fans think they need. So I think Arsenal should nick this 2-1 as well. My curveball for this week would be the game at Crystal Palace, with the gold standard right now in Manchester City visiting the Palace boys. I'm going for a 1-1 draw here. I think with the international break, it came at the worst time for City, with them playing the best football that we've probably seen them play in 3-4 years now. So I think they probably were the only team that was not happy with the international break. So I think that would mess up their rhythm a little bit, and I think Palace should cause enough problems on the wings with their two wingers in Balassi and Zaha, nullifying Navas and Sterling, making them defend as well a little bit. So I think it's going to be a tight affair there, and I'm going for a 1-1 draw. Norwich Bournemouth. Norwich playing at home to the team that they just came together from the Championship. I think Norwich will play a little bit better at home, but Bournemouth, we do know they like to keep the ball, keep possession, and try to break you down with their passing and movement. So I think Bournemouth should have, because they're pretty much on the same level at this point, but then Bournemouth won the Championship last year as well. So I'm going with a 2-1 away win for Bournemouth here at Carroll Road. We have Watford hosting Swansea. We saw Swansea play brilliant football against United for about 15 minutes there, and that's all it took for them to get the 2 goals that they needed. So I'm going for a 2-0 Swansea win here. The Premier League Player of the Month in Jordan Ayew should be fired up, and the Tiger as well, the Crouching Tiger, should be fired up to get them the goals that they need and the 3 points that they need as well. So our next game is going to be at the Hawthorns, with West Brom hosting the Saints. Southampton, I'm not quite sure what's going on with them as well. They do have the hangover that Chelsea are suffering from as well from last season. They did really, really well last year, but for some reason they haven't gotten themselves going at all this year. So I think that trends continue at Hawthorns. Tony Pulis is a really good manager when it comes to pretty much organizing his team and finding it hard for visiting teams to break them open at home. So I think Saints will find it hard to crack the puzzle as well. So I'm going for a 1-1 draw here as well. United's Liverpool, I will be analyzing that a little bit on the board, see where the matchups and where the games could possibly be won and lost there. Sunderland Spurs, Big Daddy Kane is back. So we saw him score 2 really, really world-class goals on international duty for England there. Sunderland really poor at home, haven't played too well. I mean, they did get that deserved point against Swansea, but I think Spurs should be good enough for a 2-0 away victory here. Leicester Villa, that actually should be a good game because I think Leicester are playing really, really well at the moment, especially at home, and they have the dangerously left-footed player in Mahrez on the right wing. We did hear him recently being linked with Barcelona. I'm not sure he's quite that type of quality to play for Barcelona yet, but that just shows you that when he's on form, he's a really dangerous player. So I'm going for a 2-0 victory for Leicester here at home. And then the last week on Monday night, the last game week that we have is West Ham hosting Newcastle at home. As with City going into the international break not being too happy with their form, I think the same applies with West Ham here. They would have wanted to kick on after the Liverpool victory that they got at Anfield. I think one of the first wins they've had there in about 50 years. So really good game. They were defensively organized, and offensively they just tore Liverpool apart. I mean, Liverpool did make some horrific defensive errors there, but I think West Ham was really, really good at home. So here at home against the teams that we consider mid-table teams on their level, they've struggled so far this season, but I think this game they right the wrong and get the 1-0 victory against Newcastle at home. So those are my predictions. Upcoming is the Manchester United Liverpool breakdown. All right, so the prediction for the Liverpool United game. This tie is arguably still one of the main attractions for English football. It's the best rivalry in English football, arguably. So, and both teams are both coming on with similar records. Played 4, they both won 2, drew 1, and also lost 1. So I think both managers would be looking forward to this game. This is a must-not-lose game for both teams. So lineup-wise, I'm going for a similar setup for both teams. Personnel might maybe a little bit different, especially with the international break just been concluded. So personnel, I'm going for De Gea to start and go for Manchester United. I think the only reason the manager gave for him not starting all 4 previous games is that his head hasn't been right, but he just signed a new 4-year contract. Played in goal for Spain in midweek to get his match sharpness up, so I think he picks himself in between the sticks. Back 4 stays the same. They've been solid all year long. I mean, small sample size we're talking of now, but I think the partnership between all 4 has been really good, especially with the player of the month in Matteo Darmian coming in from Torino there for Manchester United. So I think they continue in defense. Midfield, Schweinsteiger and Schneiderlin should partner in the defensive role in the midfield there. I think especially with Michael Carrick picking up that calf injury on duty for England, I think that keeps him out of the lineup. Now in left wing, I think especially with the game from last season, the same encounter last season at Old Trafford playing in the back of the manager's mind, he might just go with Ashley Young instead of Memphis Depay. And Memphis has looked a little bit rusty, and he's given possession away too cheaply the last 2 games. And he didn't have the best of games on international duty for Holland as well. And then with Ashley Young being rested, he didn't get selected to the English team. So I think he might start in place of Memphis just to give Memphis a little bit of rest and to bring a little bit of mix up to the team. And then in the number 10 role, that's another conundrum for me. I think Herrera is the obvious to start there with Januzaj being loaned off to Dortmund. But the manager might just go with Fellaini. Like I mentioned, if Young does start, Fellaini might start as well because of the same partnership they had in the 3-0 victory last season. And then another one would be Mata and the left wing role. I'm sorry, the right wing role. He might just start again at number 10, and Louis might decide to give the new French guy, Marshall, his Premier League debut. So this three here, personnel-wise, would be a good one to watch out for to see what the manager decides to do. So it'd be interesting to see who he sticks in those positions. But Rooney definitely picks himself in the striker position, obviously because United have nobody else to play up there. He hasn't gotten a goal in the last 10, 12 games in the Premier League, so he's due for one, and his record against Liverpool is not the best as well. So, but there are no options. He has to play. Liverpool, I'm going for Mignolet in goal. Their back four as well picks itself. Klein has been solid coming in from Southampton. Skirtle, Lovren had a shaky game against West Ham, so that would be interesting to see how we adapt at Old Trafford as well. And then Gomez has been a really bright spot for Liverpool at that left wing, the left back row, especially considering that Moreno was the guy that played there all of last season. Now, in the defensive midfield role, I think there are rumors that Henderson is fit. So I think if Henderson is fit, he will partner Lucas in that midfield there and give the back line a little bit of protection, because they know, even though United, they lack that quality to cut teams open as we've seen so far. I think Lucas and Henderson, the manager, will still want to keep his shape and solidity in defense. So those two will help anchor the defense a little bit. And then up top, their playmaker, their inspiration so far this season is suspended. So I think Firmino has to be the guy to step up if Liverpool are to get anything at Old Trafford. So I think he starts in the number 10 position. And then Milner would start at the number 7 role. He's an engine, so we know he goes back up. He goes back to help the defense, and then he goes up front to support the attackers as well. And he does deliver min crosses occasionally, so I think he'll be at that number 7 role. Then the key one for me here would be Jordan Ibe. I think Liverpool needs some type of pace because we know they're coming to Old Trafford to kind of stay compact. So they need a little bit of pace on that left wing to trouble and take advantage of the space that's going to be left by Mata and Darmian. We know Mata, the main reason why Mourinho sold him is because defensively he's not the strongest, so he doesn't pay the best of attention when it comes to defensive shape and organization. And then Darmian is a right back that likes to bump forward, so I think that might be an advantage for Liverpool there to hit United on the counter like we saw at Swansea there. So the guy, the only obvious guy there that has the pace and the power to run at those two guys would be Jordan Ibe. And then Benteke, of course, the big Belgian, got criticized by his Belgian coach midweek because of his dull performance. But I think he picks up here. He was the one for me that I think pretty much broke Smalling as far as his confidence 2 years ago at Villa Park, with that little shove on the left sideline to cross the ball for the goal that was scored by, I can't really remember, Brighton now, yeah. So Benteke, and then if Liverpool are to play solid football as well, they need to isolate him against these two guys. Blind, not the strongest of defenders as well, so Benteke should be able to win the balls and headers off of him, and then Benteke is good enough a striker to pop in a goal for Liverpool. So the key guys here for me would be, obviously with Coutinho being suspended, Firmino has to have a good game for Liverpool, but I think it's going to be a collective effort of this three here. Firmino, whoever plays in that left wing spot, I think would be Ibe, and then Benteke, they have to have some type of pass and play and understanding to be able to take advantage of the space that's going to be left behind by United in their defense. So Firmino would be the marquee guy for me for Liverpool. And then for Manchester United, whoever plays in the number 10 role is going to be critical. I think it's going to be Herrera that gets the start. He played pretty well in the Champions League against Club Brugge. Didn't have too bad of a game against Swansea as well. The understanding that he has with Mata and Young, possibly Memphis, will be critical. And then he does open up, because he's somebody that bumps forward, is going to open up a little bit of space for Wayne Rooney to take advantage of the defense. So if Wayne Rooney can mark out Lovren, especially with the shaky game that he had against West Ham, Herrera could be that guy to roll around this spot here and, you know, maybe nick in past the Rooney to pop in a goal for Manchester United. So the two number 10 roles for both teams are going to be critical. Obviously, every matchup is different in the game. So, but I think those two number 10 roles, whoever plays there for both teams has to show up. Predictions now, I am going for a 2-0 Manchester United victory. Both teams have not really impressed so far. They're pretty much playing the same kind of brand of football, pass, 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 no incisive passing. The real difference for Liverpool has been Coutinho. He got that one goal against Stoke, played pretty well at home against Bournemouth, had a magical game against Arsenal, should have gotten a goal, but if not for the world-class save from Petr Cech. So with him being out, I think Liverpool come out a little bit flat in this game, and Manchester United will be coming off a high, especially not a high based on their last game, but a high based on the last season's results. So, and then personnel-wise, if they go with the familiar setup from that game, I think that Manchester United should be strong enough to crack down. And then Liverpool didn't look too well defensively against West Ham, so I think United should be good for 2 goals there. So 2-0 Manchester United. All right, so fantasy predictions for game week 5. Goals, I'm going for Harry Kane. I think the international break came at the perfect time for him. He was struggling in the league, but with the international break, he was able to clear his head, get 2 really, really world-class goals for England. So I think the international break came at the perfect time for him. So playing away at Sunderland, they cannot defend to save their lives. So I'm going for Harry Kane to probably get a goal or 2 away at Sunderland. And for a clean sheet, I will go for Swansea. I think Swansea are still fresh. They're playing really good football at the moment. So away at Watford, Watford is not a team that's known for holding on to possession or trying to break you down offensively on the counter. When they played City, they were pretty much played half field, even though City are the gold standard right now. They played half field with City. So I think with Swansea visiting and Swansea on the high right now after the Manchester United win, not that it's a high, it's the 3rd time in a row that they beat United, but I think with Swansea coming in, Swansea would look to improve on their form, and they should be good to get a clean sheet there. So any of the Swansea back 4 should be good for a clean sheet for you. So those are my predictions for this fantasy game week. So hopefully they go well. So that's the show for this week. Thanks for rocking with me, guys. Don't forget to follow at the EPL Debate Show on Twitter and subscribe to our YouTube page as well. And I'll see you guys here next week as well. And stay safe out there.